Hello and welcome to the Spark London podcast. Real people, real talk, real estate. I'm your host, Vince Simpson, founder of Spark London, project strategists and managers. Join me as I sit down with industry experts, leaders, consultants, specialists, and perhaps even the odd contrarian. Please note that nothing in our episodes constitutes as advice. It's purely for your entertainment and inspiration only. Now, put the kettle on, make a cup of tea or your favourite overpriced ground coffee, and let's meet today's guest. Hello and welcome back to today's episode where I'm joined by Russell Wood, or Russ. Russ has got a 20-year career spanning property and facilities management, primarily in the legal sectors, but also the media sectors. Russ, great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
How was your weekend?
Yeah, weekend good. Little bit nervous ahead of this.
Really? Oh, you shouldn't be. This is just a chat.
I know. But overthinking. But yeah, weekend good. Family time, which
Good.
is nice.
Really important.
Yeah.
Really important.
I think with the workload, trying to maintain that balance of switching off doesn't come easily. I'm
No.
sure you're the same.
To some people, yes, to some people.
But yeah, overall good.
Good. Well, full disclosure, we have worked together in the past on a fairly modest but important project a few years ago.
Absolutely.
We might touch on that, maybe not, because we're not here to talk about that, but we are here to talk about a few things. And maybe we can start with a 5-minute abridged version of your career history, because you've got quite a wide kind of experiences. How did you get into what you do now, and how did you get in this room today?
Oh. So I think we probably will touch on that project to start with. I think we'll segue back to that. I am one of those that started in facilities and very much fell into it. So I think qualification degree-wise, that never happened. It was GCSEs. I wanted an extra year at school, not to be educated, but I enjoyed playing football for the school, so I wanted one more year playing school football.
Yeah. Make it work for you.
Yeah. I'm not sure it was worth it, actually. But and then wanted to get into sort of London working. Started off as a barrister's clerk, but sort of got a little bit of sense of what does law look like from a clerking perspective, and then took a facilities assistant role at law firm, Mills Reeve, which I guess generally more office administration, but I think what I really quite liked is the ability that no 2 days are the same and you're quite varied as opposed to being really, really structured. And I think as sort of career's gone on, that's something I quite enjoy.
Which I guess is the property industry generally, right?
Yeah,
no 2 days are ever really the same.
Absolutely.
Variants of similar things, but
so I did 8 years at Mills Reeve. Did well. It was a smallish office, but sort of elevated relatively quickly and enjoyed what I did at a young age. Left there to a FTSE 250 Close Brothers Asset Management and was there 5 years. And within a year of that, was promoted to a head of role. So I think accelerated quickly, but probably there was a little bit of consideration that there's some ability there. But I think there was a real moment for me a year into that role at Close Brothers to learn quick and use networks to my advantage.
Sure.
Because I think it's fair to say probably accelerated in hindsight quicker than one would have anticipated. So I worked there for 5 years, and varying reasons, time to move on. And I think I probably look back at the gap in my experience from an operational perspective where I got elevated relatively quickly. But I needed to bridge a gap on probably bigger portfolio, bigger budgets, big projects. So I took a role at a creative media company on Regent's Place Estate. It was quite interesting when sort of recruiting or looking for a role. I was all sort of banded, Russ, your CV's very corporate, you're a really corporate guy. And I was like, I don't want to be badged as the corporate guy, because actually I feel that I've got enough sort of ability to flex culturally and deliver the disciplines of real estate and FM across different industries. So I was keen to not be the corporate guy.
But you could, sorry to jump in there, but you could probably appreciate that, because from law and finance, Close Brothers, finance and asset management, it kind of does ring corporate, right?
Absolutely. And I think I'm always looking 5-10 years ahead, so I don't just in the moment.
Yeah.
Got a role at that media business. I think we're sort of 250,000 square foot across a couple of buildings. Very agile. This is sort of pre-COVID. Big projects in the pipeline. And COVID struck. So sort of panic stations.
Not the first time I've heard this.
And what does the role look like? So I felt significantly vulnerable, but I was fortunate enough I was part of the future planning the big projects. My role was sort of safe within that. And
And the world needs to go on, right?
absolutely.
And maybe we could touch on that, but the world has to go on. Maybe slightly reshaped some projects or some motivation behind projects, but things had to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we as a business, we were taking, for that particular project, around 330,000 square foot of real estate. Massive project,
Yeah,
and sort of
huge,
consolidating smaller offices into one.
Yeah.
And during a sort of time of COVID, we probably ended the strategy was that we ended up subletting or looking to sublet more than we was occupying.
Yeah.
And I think fortunately got to a point sort of during that pandemic on the estate, there was another large organisation in the media that wanted to expand. We wanted to walk away, and therefore there was sort of a tripartite deal that was probably the biggest
Couldn't make it up, right?
bullet dodged in real estate history for that business I was working for.
Yeah.
And whilst personally disappointing, we was quite far advanced contractors about to start on site, so a lot of work gone into it prior. We then started to reinvest in our existing premises, and so one door closes, another opportunity to add some real value at some sort of significant cost to improve the
perfect timing. How things
absolutely
work out sometimes.
so a real moment in those 4.5 years. Maybe we touch on sort of cultures very, very different, and learn a lot from that sort of industry.
Yeah.
But I think probably felt that I'm better suited to more professional service structure. So moved from there back into law, and here I am now. Yeah,
indeed. Well, we will touch on that actually.
Yeah.
Maybe let's get into it right now.
Yeah.
So something that's kind of stood out to me over our research in your career is the professional services. Okay. But professional services in law and a bit of finance and asset management versus professional services in media. I mean, it's a bit crude, but they're arguably opposite ends of the scale in terms of culture, demographic, perhaps, expectation. Talk to me about that, because I can just imagine big differences in how you operate.
Yeah, I think I might have quoted this earlier, but I think professional services law, it's organised, it's structured, it's well thought through.
Yeah.
My experience of the role in media was chaos. So not organised chaos. I think it's
disorganised chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that it was a group company, and brands was, I guess, quite autonomous in how they operated within the building. So I guess for my role, I guess you could have felt like a landlord, and they were occupiers of a building.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But actually, we are one business.
Yeah, but different brands.
Yeah, different brands, different CEOs, different strategies. So when you're sort of undertaking projects of refurbs and fit outs, and it wasn't perhaps as quite joined up in project A here, project B. It was very much in isolation. We need this, we need it now. So whilst I think the time element of turning around projects wasn't so much of an issue, but it was a lot of organic change and churn. So you deliver a project at a fit out perspective, and a new CEO comes in, doesn't like it, we need to rip it to pieces and do it again.
Yeah, okay.
That's not quite the experience of the professional services.
No.
And this is a strategic vision of a move or a stay with organic growth, and this is how we're going to measure our business. So very, very different. My experience tells me that from a professional service, they understand better what we do in the industry in terms of real estate or property, workplace, FM. Media, I'm going to take for granted. I think there is an age demographic. It's a lot younger, the demographic of media. Sort of generational change. And whilst there are obviously a young generation, maybe in support functions in the sort of professional services law, it feels like media is, if you did a sort of an average age range, it would be lesser than that. And I think that plays into some of that thinking as well.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I've done law projects over my 20 years, and I've done what used to be by TMT. It's now covers a hell of a lot, right? Yeah. Demographic, absolutely get. Yeah. But not only just at let's call it the junior ranks, so to speak, but even some of the seniors. And some of the media or tech firms have got far younger leadership these days, as opposed to what I would imagine the leadership demographic of a mature law firm would have.
Yeah, great.
Very different kind of outlooks. And used the word strategic there when it comes to the corporate side of things. As you know, Spark have just recently repositioned as project strategists, because I firmly believe there's maybe a lack of strategy in some areas of the market. But the one where I see it the most is leaning more towards the what I would call the TMT, or even the startups and all that kind of stuff, that have just not quite got that real estate maturity yet. Which I think you would agree with.
100%, absolutely.
How does that translate at an operational level? So forgetting projects, day-to-day FM, what's the differences and how does it translate?
I think there's an understanding. I think what's really important is we try to align FM service provisions with a wider real estate strategy and people strategy. I think in a media, it's less understood, and I think there's a different type of expectation in terms of how you provide, why you provide, and the length of service you provide.
Yeah.
And I think experience is that it's just tunnel vision for me. Media is very much it's now we need change now, and it's looked at in isolation everything we do. Sure. Whereas in professional services, and I think this is where maybe I am as an individual, there's more holistic thinking to that, and perhaps probably why me and the culture of media didn't align as well. And whilst I don't want to be the corporate guy, I'm not sure I'll go back into media.
Right, that's interesting. Yeah.
I think what I've learned is I do need, whilst I believe I'm, quite a dynamic individual, I think having that maturity up top and a plan and a structure that we can work to, we can procure to, we can provide and support to. Yeah. I think it's interesting, but I think it probably aligns with what I do and how I do it. Yeah.
I can also relate to that. Yeah. There's so part of my outlook with Spark, is about being dynamic. But there's being dynamic in, let's call it disorganised chaos is one thing, but it can get quite exhausting if that's the norm. Yeah. And a good bit of structure or strategy or direction is really important as well.
Well, interestingly, I think I was managing. Should have brought you in, Vince, actually, because I'd known you at that point.
There'll be another time, Ross.
Yeah, we had a refurb on a floor for a particular brand. So contractors working on a program, 12-week program, building a gantry up on the top of the roof that hadn't been there for years, and sort of I've unpicked sort of good practice, and we talk about doing the right thing, not the easy thing. The easy thing perhaps was to have left that issue, but
yeah, sure.
Sort of load of inspection, there was an issue around it. So.
Yeah.
So decided to add that headache to the career at the same time as a fit out, whilst we were also upgrading the BMS and a fire safety system. So we've got 4 contractors in the same building.
Yeah.
Which, no sensible, mature professional would.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. And it shouldn't have been accepted. But the business, I think there was a view of use it or lose it financially from financial year.
Get it all done.
Get it done, which was against the DNA of, look, we can't do this once, do it well. This is chaos. And do you want to listen to the expert? And sadly, they didn't. And therefore, a little bit overly complicated and unnecessary.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the sort of isolated and the holistic thinking, Pete. Maybe some examples there as to it's seen as in isolation as opposed to a program.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my kind of way of visualizing that is in today's industry, we've got ourselves into this spiral of rushing. And sometimes rushing into problems and going straight to project.
Chasing. I tell a lot of people, I'm always chasing. People are always chasing
stuff.
Yeah. So I'm going to get you to chat. I have a habit of making people talk in my language. But chasing.
Chasing. But I think we are. We're always chasing the answer or chasing somebody for an action that's not been done or whatever it may be. But I do think we've got to this point in the industry where we're moving too fast and not thinking enough and rushing straight into projects without a strategy in place. And I think we're kind of saying the same thing there.
Yeah. So I did we did a sort of an offsite earlier in the year, and as you know, lots of mantras. So I've got to try and
you do a lot of mantra.
I do a lot of sort of sayings.
Is there a book coming out, or
might be a book. We'll talk about it later. I just need time to write it for me because I'm not very good at articulating. About responding and not reacting.
Yeah.
and I used to sort of deliver this to my team, and don't just react to the, just take a step back.
Yep.
And respond well. That, I know we're going real granular here. That one email that you respond well, and you think about it, you close it out, think about the audience and what do they want to hear. If you respond well, probably nothing comes back. If you react to it, you've probably just spent 6 or 7 extra emails at 2, 3, 5 minutes. Just lost half an hour in efficiency.
Yeah.
Because you've not spent 10 minutes, and therefore you've just saved 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So I do think there is a thing about responding and not reacting.
So again, totally agree with that. And that's where I've really noticed in what I do in my reflection over my career of the difference between project management and project strategy. Not to keep banging on about that because the listeners will be sick of that. But
maybe I need to ask a question about defining. Maybe later.
I do fundamentally think there is a difference.
Yeah.
We are very much in a reactive industry, but I think it's also a symptom of, big statement, symptom of society, but it's a symptom of the pace that we're forced to move at.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't have the time or the resource to think, and they've got to rush into situations. Doesn't make it right. We should take a breath and step back a bit.
I think we all fall foul of that.
Yeah.
Because you're caught up. But I'd sort of given some advice to the team recently about live CV.
Yep.
Imagine we're going well off piste here.
That's all right. We knew we would.
I know, yeah, we're 10 minutes in. It's so easy to just get caught up in this sort of hamster wheel when you go and you go. And sort of talk about people's development and career is actually have this live CV and start catching stuff as you go along. Because if you don't make that time to just reflect and take a step back, in 4 or 5 years, whatever that career plan is, you sort of fundamentally forget all of the amazing stuff that you've done in a career because you're just on this wheel. And I do think there's creating moments, diaries, days, whatever it is, just to reflect. I'm sure we all do some amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And some of my teams sort of probably bored of it now, but the sort of anecdotal stories I tell them, and I sort of say it to regurgitate a reminder of myself and what I've done in a career. But also, if that helps 1% in their thinking, there's a good news learning there, and you can take that. And if you want to take it, you will. 1090. We'll come on to that.
We will get there.
So I think reflection is really, really important, and taking that step back. And I'm not amazing at it, and I think I need to get better.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is amazing at it.
No.
Or not, no one I've come across at least. But there's a staged process to that.
Yeah,
there's a self-awareness piece to be able to then reflect. So that's kind of number one, which might get us to the 90-10 rule. But let me go a bit deeper on that question. So again, given your experience across the different firms and different demographics, do you think people reflect differently or not reflect at all? And do you notice a difference in the type of demographics that you interact with or have interacted with?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a demographic thing. I mean, we're probably on a slightly, we're not. I don't even know the names of all the generations and Zs and X and Ys and stuff. So I don't know where we sit in that. Badging us in the same category here, Vince.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're Y.
Yeah,
Y. Yeah.
I just don't think people do reflect, and I think that comes inherent. I think if you want to reflect, you are probably a particular type of person that wants to learn from that reflection and go again and adapt, and I guess individually undertaking your lessons learned around whether it's just life or career.
Yeah.
So I don't think people do it, but I do think there is whilst businesses have performance reviews and all of that, pretty sure if you ask 95% of the people, they all react because you've just been sent a HR email to do your performance review, and you've not been actually doing it from the day after your last one and start doing a live CV, right?
That never happens. Surely not.
There you go. I might be setting a trend, but do open that email and just start putting it. So I do think and that just becomes a reminder of reflection, I think.
So we are going off piste here a little bit, which is a good thing. Something that I was taught twice, in actual fact, over my career. Once when I was at Como Interiors, which is now Mace Interiors. That's where I started my fit-out career. There was a senior leader there called Steve Root, who I've still got huge respect for. He was a big name in the industry. He taught all of us in the business quite a valuable lesson. You can work for a brand, but your personal brand is so important, and you've got to keep maintaining your personal brand. Again, I don't do it perfectly, but I'm working on it, and it's something you've got to continue to work on, right?
Absolutely.
Versus your corporate brand and your corporate persona and all that kind of stuff. I think that's kind of what you're saying there, that you've got to really be working on yourself.
Yeah, agreed.
But if I'm reading between the lines, not everyone does.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, not at all. And I think there's that, again, segue, I think there's that getting it. Some people are amazing on LinkedIn. Some people are amazing at events. Some people
Yeah.
and I'm certainly not that. I think I have a lot to do in that world, in the industry to do well. Start off a podcast, see how we go.
There
right?
we go,
See
right?
How we go.
Yeah.
Let's plaster
Yeah.
this one all over the place. But so I don't think people do, and I think that's there's an inherent wired piece around. Does that matter?
Mhm.
You know, we're talking about career in a context of a big world of life. So
Yeah.
actually, how important is that
Yeah.
in comparison to your life? So I think there's some really, really good people out there that do it impeccably well.
Yeah.
I don't do it as well as I should.
Yeah.
I've always been quite strategic with sort of personal networking.
Yeah.
So sort of going back to that early sort of Close Brothers elevated role day, I had to learn quick to lean on people because I'm no expert.
Yeah.
Arguably, I'm no expert now, but I have really, really good network of people I trust.
Yes. Yeah.
Consultants, non-consultants, suppliers, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And you know, we've not worked together for a long time, but we've stayed in contact, and there's
Yeah.
a reason we've stayed in contact. So I guess I do that on a more strategic individual basis, not just when I need something, but actually I know the people around me who I trust and respect, and I think I would be happy that I pick up a phone even after 5-6 years, and they'd be welcome a coffee, because there's sort of this inbuilt relationship that we've sort of built over previous years. So I do that a slightly different way, but recognise I care about that. I do care about it in my own sort of unique way. Whereas, perhaps some people don't feel the need to because they're not that way in terms of what does career look like for them.
So going a bit deeper on that then, what are we saying there? The importance of true relationships versus, let's call it, professional relationships that you've kind of got to keep. I'm a big believer in there being two very different things there.
Yeah, I agree. Another one. People buy people.
Yes.
People buy into people.
Yeah.
I remember a project at Close Brothers where we were on a leasehold on a business park, and we had sort of car parking on a business park was horrendous due to particular business that was accelerating. So sort of employment growth was significant, and our staff couldn't park. We had a big bit of land, and we built a car park, and we was bidding for that, and it was against 3 contractors. One contractor was a smaller regional contractor that I worked closely with, know the MD. Second contractor really loved the individual presenting, who I had known before. Third contractor, they did really well, but just there was that sort of gut feel didn't work. So I was really torn about who to sort of procure with. And the MD of the business that I really liked the model of, because it sort of focused regionally, not a big national and sort of too thinly spread, rang me and said, Russ, I know we've just bid with another contractor and you like a particular person, and just to let you know, he's joining us in 2 months' time.
Oh, wow, right. Okay.
So I sort of got what I wanted there, and by luck. And then that individual, you know.
Oh, do I?
You do know.
Okay.
I might go now. I've not validated, but Oliver Thomas, that is back at where he was there, he moved, he's gone back, but in a senior role.
Yeah.
And similarly, haven't spoke to him or instructed him for many years, but I'd pick up the phone and he'd text me, and there's that real relationship. And similar to you, Vince, right? So, you know, we did that project was, if you look at it in the context of square footage and sort of financial, it wasn't. However, the importance of that project in the context of the organisation and the journey where I started, actually was probably just as significant as some of these big multi-million pound projects. So
because it was a new part of the business that was opening up.
Yeah, it was, and it was a sort of real sort of growth and investment management strategy. And so I think that importance to the business, forget square foot, forget headcount, but actually was probably one of the bigger projects I've been involved in, purely because of the meaning to the business, not as a sort of a property relocation piece. So
it's not funny you say that, but again, something that I've always focused on is the need for the business. Why is the business doing the project? And I often think that consultants and contractors lose sight of that.
Yeah.
They just think it's okay, it's fee, it's a client, it's a brand, it's a LinkedIn post, it's a case study. Let's go straight to the project and just do it. I've always tried to, at least, think, right, yeah, but what's the why? Why is the business doing this in the first place? And and that's irrespective of square feet. Sadly, we're in a world where square feet matter. That's the benchmark. Or if you're a contractor, construction value matters. That's the benchmark. But for me, it's more about, right, why is the project happening?
Yeah.
And then I can get my head around it. And that fee doesn't go out the window and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't. But it's right. We've got a goal to fix now. We've got a goal to achieve. Let's get stuck in and do that.
Yeah.
And that's always been how I've gone about my projects.
Yeah. So I think the question was about that sort of investment in people. So that people by people, for me, we're another consultant in the industry, and I checked with him this morning if I can say his name, and I'm going to say it because he's been remarkably inspirational in my journey. So when we talk about close probes, I was elevated quickly. This guy saw something in me, and he still speaks to me. So I'm hoping I've done him proud in a career.
Well, you will have done if he's still in dialogue.
Absolutely,
that's
absolutely. It's a guy called Andy McStravick, and I looked up and still do in awe of him in how he articulates himself, how he conducts himself, how there's no sort of bravado in meetings around who shouts loudest. It's about the quality of how he presents himself and how he cuts through it. And I think I would always, similarly, he retires. I think there's that relationship we've built over the years. I could pick up the phone and say, Andy, look.
Yeah, what do you think?
What do you think? And recently we asked him to do a piece of work or dig something out, which he's provided. So I think that people buying people, that real relationship will stand me, I think, in good stead. And agreed there, you will need to contract with consultants and some of the bigger players. But I have a real sort of strong view on people I can look in the eye and pick up the phone and they'll react because they care. Care about me or the product that they're working on or the contract, as opposed to potentially it's just another client.
Hello, me again. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to give a few seconds to our sponsors. Yes, it's us, Spark London. At Spark London, we are not just project managers, we are project strategists. And yes, there is a huge difference. Clients come to us to avoid the same old project mistakes, cost overruns and delays by thinking strategically about their project. To find out more, visit us at spark.london or find us on LinkedIn. All links are in the show notes. Now back to the conversation. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the pros and cons of internal resource versus external. We're in an industry where we've got to rely on external consultants, contractors, etc. We can't do it all in-house. What do you think about that in terms of what makes a good consultant, I guess, is my question.
Sort of acid question here, I guess. So I have a real strong belief in people development. I work across companies where I think we've got so much talent internally and so much skill set, not to say they can replicate the role of a consultant, but I do feel that as businesses it's so easy to just say, right, full package consultant, as opposed to look at, well, actually, what does our in-house model look like? And how much we can support an outsourced model, but really look at your people internally, because they're the ones that stay post project. They're the ones you want to invest in. And they just, we pay big money to consultants. That's what we do. But there's a lot of really good people doing a lot of good work internally. And I've seen experience where, in-house resource are picking up pieces of consultants. They shouldn't. Not quite being reflected financially of that, but actually arguably could have done a nice sort of blended approach model with consultants. So sort of land that there, because I'm a big believer. I think there's in-house talent. The company I work for now, I've got abundance of really, really great talent. And again, whether they want to learn from what we're doing now and take that forward, I think will be telling of them as individuals and how they sort of take their career forward. And what makes a good consultant? We will talk a bit about this maybe in another, but the want to care and invest and embed into the client.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not a consultant. I've always been in-house. So my focus is the business I'm contractually employed by and to deliver to. And therefore, I'm invested in that and I'm contractually obligated to do that. I think there are times in which you are not a big fish in a small pond, but you're a small fish in an ocean. And therefore, I think you can feel that. So I think, and I look at that in terms of FM procurement as well. You can go to the biggest players out there on TFM contracts or whatever it might be, but you want to matter, you want a voice, you want to feel important, and you always sort of want to be in that top 3, top 5 client base. So I think there's sort of being relative to the consultancy that you're working with.
So have you felt that? Have you felt that in your time in various projects and places?
Yeah, I think some. I won't. Obviously won't talk specific projects. I have. Now, is that because I have an expectation greater than others? I don't know. But I think there's certainly times where, and even, projects consultants, FM procurement, I've certainly felt that. And that's sort of the learning over the years of I want to feel important. And how do you get reassurance that we do matter, we do have a voice?
Yeah.
But actually, I'm no PM, as you well know. And there's a process and there's criteria, absolutely. That's what makes a successful project. But for me, it needs to feel different. It needs to feel like there's a care and a want and this is more than just a tick box exercise. There is that real investment. So, in-house got people that are really invested in the business.
Yeah.
And arguably that know and want investment, I think probably outshines maybe in some cases the competence of a consultant that aren't invested back into the business. So for me, what makes a good consultant? I think having that investment, that real care, is something that if I was a consultant, I'd absolutely deep dive into the business, and treat it. And I don't know, like I said, not a consultant, but treat it that's who I'm employed by, as opposed to I'm employed by multiple and I need to spread 33% of my working week to 3 clients.
Totally get that. I think I've always thought it's horses for courses. There will be clients, whether it be occupiers or landlords, whoever it may be, that have got either the pipeline or the square footage or the relationships, whatever it may be, that they will go to some of the top firms or the bigger firms. And I get it and it works. But having been at some of those firms, which were absolutely fantastic, got to say, that's when we worked together, when I was at one of those firms, and it's brilliant. But when I kind of look at what Spark does and some of our smaller competitors, the SME type of boutique firms, it's a very different thing. And I've kind of got 2 questions off this. Question number 1 is, do you feel that sometimes certainly where you are and you see different consultants, there's a bureaucracy, tick box, process driven approach to project management?
Yes.
And then my follow on question is GAS and what it means. And I know that you'll know what that means, but kind of get me there in my thinking.
Yeah, I think so. I think there is as a project, there's practical completion. We've got to get there. We've got to go through the hoops, and absolutely, that's how we do that.
Yeah.
Would I? And I think I'm unique, Vince. Right? You'll probably agree that I'm quite a unique individual with expectations.
Yeah. Which isn't a bad thing, though.
No,
that's not a bad thing.
No, I don't think so.
I've got quite high expectations myself about certain things when it comes to projects and property, and we should keep our own standards.
And things go wrong in projects, right? And I think how do you conduct self-handle it? Now, I get frustrated if things don't always go to plan. Right? I don't think I always show it, but it sort of links into the GAS piece. But if I'm really frustrated and irritated by something that's gone wrong, I'd expect to see a consultant in that sort of similar frustration.
Yeah.
And not just a dismissive. And look, I get there's got to be a professional element to this, right? I'm not expecting everyone to throw their toys out the pram. So I do feel that there is a tick box process, and that's probably why I'd never be a good consultant, because probably not very good at ticking boxes. Probably create new ones, but and then the GAS. Can we use language?
It's your podcast, and people will be wondering what it is.
Yeah, so GAS, and this is give a shit.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about spheres in a minute. I when I've interviewed before for roles, and they talk about what you're good at, and I'm not very good at selling myself, but I think I'm okay.
This is going to change that, Ross. You're going
it's either career suicide or
followers galore.
Yeah, but when we talk about what are your sort of weaknesses or your development areas, I'm really passionate.
Yeah,
I really care.
Yeah,
and I think over the years I've managed that reaction and frustration much better than I did in my earlier years. I'm probably a bit too vocal, and now I'm just more strategically vocal when things go wrong. So and that's the piece when I sort of just led up to this around sort of the investment bit, is that you really give a shit about the product that you're working on. I really give a shit about it. And about my profile, my perception, and delivering to a standard that is it sustainable? Possibly not, but I'll keep trying to achieve a level, because that I'm probably one of those people career-wise that want to do as best as I can, knowing to the best of my ability. I think sometimes there's an unreasonable expectation. I expect everybody to be wired that way, which I don't think 100% of the population are.
I don't think they are. No.
So I do think that really caring about it. Now, that's not to say that I'd be expecting people to be all weekend thinking about stuff, and that there's definitely a balance of life, and this is a part of life. I get that.
Yeah.
But in terms of delivery on big projects and where you're paying fees and there's an expectation, I think sort of feeling that care from external parties is something that I think it's missing in some situations or some projects, but I'd like to feel more.
It's almost surprising, because I can relate to that. I'd like to think I'm one of those people.
Well, I remember you won't. I don't know if you remember this. So we, when we was on that project in Mayfair, and I won't talk about the D&B contractor. And I think it's the first time. So whilst we sort of procured and instructed you sort of PM, go through the tender process, and it's all, I think, absolutely right contract. And we was on site. I don't know if it was week 2 or 3, and I saw a different bins. But that was a moment of wow. Okay. That means this project. So when I know 100% that you as an individual, the business you work for, tackle projects of much more significance of the size and scale of it in terms of facts of square foot and numbers, and probably your fee. And I don't know, 7, 8, 9 week fit out. I can't remember. But there was there was a moment where you demonstrated this real care, irrespective of all of it. You could have, if you're on another project, you probably could have put all your energy over into that project. But I think that was a real moment for me. And probably where that respect from sort of me to you in what you do, in your care and your passion, it's probably why we align. Come from. Now, did I think you at the time went a little bit heavy-handed? Probably, but equally. But equally, I was probably, this is sort of 8, 9 years back. And therefore, if we'd done that now, I would have said, well, we should have done it early, Vince, probably.
Can't be right for
wrong. Absolutely. So there's definitely a moment there, actually.
So that's...
I know you wasn't prepared for that. So
no, I wasn't.
Digging it out of the archive.
No. I'm going to take that as a backhanded compliment, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you for that. But to give context to that, I've got quite a unique background, and I'm not going to get into this too detail because these listeners will have heard it before, but I know what's possible, and I've got military experience, I've got contractor experience. So when some challenges present themselves, and some individuals or companies or whatever it may be are intent on finding the problems with no solution, or just trying to throw the problem in someone else's direction. And we do have problems on projects every single day. But that's where I get frustrated, because I know what can be done. If everyone's looking in the same direction, and everyone puts aside their Excel spreadsheet or the tick box or whatever they've got to do and goes, how can we actually achieve that? I know 9 out of 10 times it's possible.
Yeah.
If we all thought about it differently. And that's where sometimes I maybe get a bit assertive, is maybe the word I would use.
Let's go with assertive for the purpose of that.
Let's go with assertive.
Yeah. Professionally assertive.
And it's not for everyone. I know it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
But I'm probably 9 times out of 10 right. We can actually achieve that if we thought about it.
Feels like
and we get there. I'm a goal-focused guy.
Yeah, I agree with solution. And it probably sounds like someone that gives a shit versus maybe people that don't give a shit, right? So
if that's a summary to take away, then yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on from that, or build on that, I should say. Because you put me on the spot there, Russ. I wasn't expecting that. Thank you.
Yeah, all this was collaborative. So that's
definitely, yeah. But let's build on that. You've got a 10%, 90% rule.
Yeah.
Now, there's a few people I know that have got this. I've got one. Yeah. They're all slightly different.
Yeah.
I'm dying to hear about yours.
Okay, so I've been talking about this for years. And I talk about it so confidently, people believe it. And they probably believe it more than I do, actually, Vince. So we're going to go with it.
Well,
this is a moment to land it.
You've got me on board.
Yeah, I remember we spoke about it. It'd be good to sort of overlay with some of your thinking. And it's probably maybe too simplistic. And we've touched on some points. For me, the professional career, you could adopt it for a life career. I think it's just made up of two buckets of professionalism sort of individuals. 10% sort of top high end achievers in terms of traits and behaviours.
Yeah.
And then 90%. And obviously there's amazing people in 90% as well. So this isn't saying that 10%, you've only got.
It's not a hard and fast rule, it's more of a general.
No, and when I've been asked, like now on a podcast, to sort of articulate that, it becomes very, very overwhelming and pressured.
I'm glad you're feeling it.
Yeah, because there's something for me about getting it, getting it. And the GAS piece is within that 10%. And I don't believe that the 10% is sort of CEOs, MDs. I think you've got some amazing people that are wired with DNA that can see things holistically, work at pace. They can connect across the business that they work in and not see things just in isolation. I said I think you're wired in a way. And I think for those people, it's how those life lessons I try to, like I said, those anecdotal stories, is because I want to continue to remember lessons learned and adopt and apply and adopt and apply and learn, because actually in those lessons learned, there's some amazing stuff that you want to keep adopting and applying. It's not just about what's gone wrong. Actually, focus on what's gone well.
And a hell of a lot of stuff does go right in our industry. We are in a great industry.
Yeah, and
but things are harder than they need to be sometimes.
Yeah, I think so. Let's keep it simple. I'd keep talking about the KISS model at the minute to people at work. Just keep things simple. Because actually, I think we sort of we can over-engineer things very, very quickly. So I think you are wired in a way. I don't think you can teach it. I think you've got it or you don't. And if you've got it, is how do you grab it and take it forward? But I do, sort of an emotional piece, I do think that real want, will, care is probably where that step up into a level is. Now that's okay, because I think you're 90%. That's amazing. I think that's. And I was on a phone recently with a consultant who I clearly hammered this point to, and even she's now said, "Oh, it's sort of sorry, Russ. It's not 10% behaviour. I'm not in a club like you." Now she thinks I'm in the club. I guess by this theory, I need to put myself in a club. It'd be remiss of me not to. But there's no sort of validation of this.
Or you could be on the 91% kind of cost, maybe. Is that okay place to be?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Feel I'm there.
Yeah. But so I guess there's being wide, there's dialed in, there's connecting, there's getting ahead of, even if it's just diary management, that conversation's coming.
Yeah, give us some examples, or give me on the listeners some examples.
Yeah, it's difficult to, Vince, but I mean, I'm a big believer of strategically bumping into people for the benefit of you and your outcome. Like if you know you can't get a meeting in a diary with someone, find out when you're going to pop and have a coffee, right? If you need something. Yeah. And this is just sort of proactive look ahead. Sort of talk about, I had a colleague recently in our kitchen canteen stuff. I said, we'll sit at this table. And sort of his response was, well, it's going to be disruptive. There's a lot of people and there's a queue. And so that's the point, right? Because actually you start hearing we're a service that runs buildings and projects, and why don't we get in the thick of it and start listing and getting ahead of it and be proactive? And I said, actually, in that half an hour, we'll probably catch 3 or 4 people where you've got work to do with them and close out elements of your work. You might hear issues that aren't being sort of forth known. So I think it's just about continuing to change the dial and hear and connect. And I think my role as, I remember a wonderful compliment I had, and I'm not sure I'll ever get there, but it was a close friend. A guy said to me, "You have the ability with how my head is, sort of how I sort of process things, to be a COO. You're an operator, and you can connect that conversation to over here." And in a project I'm working on at the moment, I sort of maybe doing myself a disservice, but all I'm doing is joining dots. They're quite big dots. Let's go with it. But there's a problem here and there's a problem here, and I'm hearing the noise, and we need to bring it together and unpick this sort of stuff. But I think there's that natural, I've heard that and I can't let that go. And I know that means something to, whether it's my team, I know that means something to someone there. It's just that getting it. I think it's just this sort of real pace or care and want and will. Like I said, I'm contractually obligated to do the best I can as an individual for the team that I work with and promote and profile.
Yeah.
But I think it's DNA, you're wired. I don't think can train it. If you've got it, it's about how do you want to evolve that in your career. Yeah. Now, I talked about writing a book. Now, I appreciate, based on that answer, it's going to be about 3 pages. So I'm going to need some
leaflet.
Well, it's 1 pager. We can talk about 1 pages at work. I think there's something there. Now, I've chewed the fat with this, you being one, and I think this has been 4 or 5 years of me. Like I said, I've said it so much. I sort of believe there's this carve out of what does that 10%.
Shall we write a book? Shall we do it together?
I think we should. I think because I can't write. So
there's an exclusive.
Yeah,
an exclusive. Me and Ross are going to write a book together.
There you go. There's a collab.
Or like an extended leaflet, perhaps.
Yeah. Double-sided. Yeah. Colour. So that's how I think there's, and I'm a believer of that, and I need to unpick it more. But interestingly, I spoke to a very, very high performer in the current organisation. I chewed the fat with him on this. Now, he slightly disagrees, and he thinks it's 10-10-80.
Oh, right, okay. Interesting.
But I'm going to take away that he agrees there's a 10.
Okay, so I'd be keen to understand what his other 10 is then. Is it somewhere in the middle, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's just that sort of top elevation.
Yeah, okay.
So I think there's something there. I think if you're in the 90, you're amazing. You know, this isn't you're not. But and like I said, it's not. It doesn't have to be CEOs, or it's just people that are dialed in and really care, really passionate, really give it.
Yeah.
And also there's this want to understand what you do for the business, and it matters to the business, and they just, like I said, there's a respond to it and understand that your work matters to others.
Yeah. So can I build on that? Not to kind of over-labour this point, but it's a question and a statement at the same time, because I see it, and I wonder if you'd agree that some people, let's say the 90%, they're happy to stay in their lane. They are, here's what I'm getting paid to do, that's my job, that's my company behind me, that's what I'm here to do. Not that fussed about what's happening in the lane next to them. Whereas a more strategic person, you're clearly a strategic person, over the last, since starting Spark, have really started to switch my thinking to more of a strategic thought process. Still working on it, because I am a project manager by trade, all right, and I'm still an ex-soldier and an ex-contractor. It's hard to shake off sometimes. But actually, in the industry I'm in, for the clients and the relationships I want to build, I need to be more strategic, and that's where I want to put my energy. I've got to look in the other lanes, and not just the other lanes, but I've got to look way ahead and think about what's way behind. It's kind of like a 3-dimensional model. That's kind of how I visualize it. So there's my statement. Would you agree that most people are happy just staying in the lane?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
Because that's fine, and that's that. Maybe I won't say ambition, because I think you can define ambition in different ways, and people can be ambitious in the role they do to do it. So this isn't a. So I probably would say ambition. I guess there's just career growth, maybe ambition,
aspiration,
possibly.
Yeah.
So and I think that's fine. I guess for me, what we do, we need to hear. We need to have our ears and eyes everywhere in what we do, industry, externally, internally. like I said, going back to how it all started, no 2 days the same. And I think that's for me why I enjoy doing what I do, what we do. Is that it is so dynamic and there's so much to it to learn and to understand.
It's a hugely exciting industry, right? It really is.
Amazing. So no, nothing wrong with staying in lanes. Quite often I tell people in team with sort of projects, just stay in lane actually now.
Right, okay.
Because
really?
we need to execute a project, stay in lane.
Yeah.
So maybe it conflicts into that. So that's the theory.
How do we, as an industry though, help people get out their lane sometimes? I kind of feel, we're and this is going to be the third or fourth time you'll have heard this on this podcast, but we're British.
Yeah.
We love to stay in our lane. We love a bit of red tape. We don't want to upset or offend anyone. I use the word assertive.
Yeah.
Some other people might use a different word, but at the end of the day, we're all getting paid loads of money for doing a job. Sometimes we can do better at it.
Yeah.
How do we fix it? If I was to put you on the spot right now and say, right, how do we kind of get the industry where we know it should be like that? How do we do it?
Well, I'd love to say don't know, Vince, because I'm not sure I know the answer, actually. I think people, it's hard, isn't it? Because we're talking about people as individuals.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't, from an industry network piece, lots of really good stuff out there. And, as individuals and management and leadership, you want to keep promoting and pushing and pushing. I talk, lots of people about being uncomfortable or being comfortable in the uncomfortable, push yourself, push your boundaries. And I can't remember where I've heard that saying, but I quite like that one. Recently done some stuff where it isn't natural to me. And did I enjoy it? No. Will I benefit from it? Yes. Will I have to do it again? Yes. Yeah. Because I'm in a model and I want that sort of career development piece, and therefore that's what's going to have to happen. So I'm happy to push myself. In industry wise, I'm sure there's lots and lots of good stuff. I think there's sort of more investment in.
What about training? Sorry to cut across you there, because you mentioned it earlier, and I kind of wonder if there's not enough training or mentorship or encouragement to use the metaphor again. Look outside your lane and actually try and connect these dots, these strategic dots. Yeah. It's funny because that is literally a slide in my capability statement about joining the strategic dots.
Let's just confirm to anybody watching, the one or two that might be watching,
and you've not seen
we have not done that.
No, not at all. But there is dots to be joined.
Yeah.
And I wonder if the industry is encouraging people to think that way.
Yeah. I mean, I think sort of people development. I've been mentored in the industry. I've been very, very fortunate with good line managers I've had. I don't have any horror stories. Some people talk about managers and didn't support me. I've been blessed with good people. Met an ex-boss a few weeks back, talking to most of them, and I've been really well looked after. So I feel like in my own way, that strategic networking for me, I still get that level of mentorship across various sort of individual thought processes. Internally, there's mentoring schemes, and I put myself up as a mentor to people. So I really believe in mentoring. And I think you're right. I don't know if there is enough of it in the industry, because whilst within the current business, I can mentor in a generic, it's not industry specific. So I think there's definitely something there. I haven't tapped into what that looks like across various sort of governing bodies in the industry, beside Emirates or whatever it might be. And how this, I've fallen into sort of FM, right? I was roll out of bed, find a job. This looks all right. It's quite interesting. Anyway, I'm doing a podcast now. Not getting paid for it either. So that's organic, and a lot of people in the FM industry, you'll probably find. I'm not qualified or degree. I've learned on the job, and I'd like to think I've done well career wise and sort of take that learning into practice. But I think
and you've got go on.
I believe that people have probably fallen into an industry as opposed to, I know what it is at the age of 14 and this is what I want to do. I do believe there's some more investments from IWFM about sort of degree education. So I think that dial just needs to keep being built. But actually, pandemic hit, no need for the buildings, and
Yeah,
now you're
indeed.
back are, and they're popping up left, right, centre, and we're all dealing with projects, and that's sort of
Definitely.
shifting again. And I think, culturally, our business is going to maintain this sort of hybrid fluidity, or they're going to get a bit harder, like some of the big boys bringing them back, but there's still a need for it. Project management, gives you wonderful skills in terms of structure, organisation. So there's some wonderful tools out there for people. It's just getting that to them at the right appropriate stage in their sort of education, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I hope that the industry keeps working on that, because I think it's something we've got to continuously work on as the demographics change, as technology changes, as the pace changes. How we mentor and train people needs to change. I do a little bit of coaching, and I've done so, and I still do some mentorship. I come from a.
And how do you? So talk to me about that. So apologies, I appreciate you asking me questions, but how do people know that you do mentoring and coaching, and how
it's through referrals, and it's through kind of word of mouth. Okay. And it is a service line. It's a soft service line that I deliver, and only a few candidates on at any one time. Yeah. But very down to earth. It's actually basically mentorship in GAS. That's a big part of it.
So you never.
And I am going to coin that.
I was going to say, just for viewers, you didn't even know about GIS until
I've got my own
2 minutes prior.
I've got my own version, yeah. But
let's go with it.
It's a true thing, and I mentor in a slightly different way too. Here's how to tick a box, and if you want that promotion, here's how to write the business case that will get you that promotion. It's more than that. It's got to be very real and authentic. Yeah. Right, we're getting close to the end here, so we're going to kind of wrap up. And we did end up down a few rabbit holes. Yeah. We got quite deep, which is really good, and I knew we would. Yeah, so thank you for that. But we are going to have just a few minutes on a bit of fun on the way out. You up for it?
Yep. Good. I think.
Okay. Next to you is the bag of justice, as I'm going to call it today. Please do reach in there, grab a number. And this is where it goes.
So it's random. I can't.
Yeah, no, you can't.
I thought I was going to select.
No. What is your favourite number?
Just 8.
Oh, well, if it's an 8, that's
it's 8. It's going to look.
Right, and this is where you've got to think on your feet.
Okay, so it's not 8, by the way.
Okay, what is it then?
Number 3.
Number 3, right, number 3. Oh, we've had this one actually, but let's do it again.
Do you want me to get another number?
Yeah, go on actually, yeah.
Well, it's a 6 or a 9. What do you?
You choose actually. What do you want it to be?
What's the easier one?
No, you choose. 6, right. Yeah. So what is in your work survival kit? All right, so you got to list 3 things that gets you through the working week. Go.
Water, music, coffee.
Okay. What kind of music? I'm assuming you're there with your latte, drum and bass pumping for your meetings.
I'm a bit mixed actually. I'm quite diverse in terms of genre. I mean, Ed Sheeran's just done a new album, so I'm trying to sort of listen to that. My 6-year-old son loves Alex Warren, and there's a particular song he doesn't know the words to it, but it means something to him.
Okay.
And my daughter loves sort of musical theatre, and we quite often play in the car the sort of Matilda soundtrack, and there's a school song, and she, at the age of 8, she's very talented.
So you know the words and all that?
I don't quite know. I know the alphabet.
Shall we give it a go now?
No, absolutely. No.
We'll say that for another episode.
Yeah, I think so. If you'll have me back in season 2, feels like an initiation, doesn't it? So I think for me, I need to be healthier and drink more water. It's a sort of a thing for me. My head's very fuzzy. It's very heavy. It's very full.
Yeah, sure.
Coffee it's a moment to break.
Yes. Yeah.
Music on the way in, on the way out.
Okay.
Means something to me.
Cool. I think a few people would share your survival toolkit, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive music fan. I say music fan, not to get me through the work week.
So if I could throw this back, what would your 3?
Definitely coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
I've really got into walking, silly as it sounds, but walking without the mobile, without listening to something, just actually thinking in clear headspace. That's what I've really started to get into. Makes such a difference.
I listen to music with one earphone.
Me too.
Because I'm in terms of this, it would go sort of being aware, self-aware of surroundings.
Yeah.
And this is a plea of people: put your phones away when you're walking
Yeah.
through London. Don't have your device
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
and be really, really aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
If I'm walking, it's one ear, so I've got awareness elsewhere,
Yeah.
and phone away.
I thought I was the only one that done that.
No,
We are both about odd.
We are.
Good.
I agree.
That's a good place to end it.
Yeah,
That's a good place to end it. Ross, thank you very much.
Oh, pleasure.
Really, really appreciate it. We went deep there, which was expected, actually. I've got no doubt that you got some inspirational thoughts from that, and probably would like to comment on LinkedIn when this goes live, because I've got no doubt you will have some comments to give. I'm going to put Russ's LinkedIn in the show notes. And if you or someone that you know could use some strategic advice as opposed to reactive management, please do get in touch through spark.london or find me on LinkedIn. Until next time, take care.